The Miami Marlins have made the postseason for just the fourth time in franchise history. If you don't count the Mickey Mouse 2020 postseason, the only other times the Marlins have made it to the playoffs, they've ended up winning the World Series, being in 1996 and 2003. The Marlins make it back with their first non-Mickey Mouse playoff appearance in 22 years. And they'll start with a 3-game set in the National League wildcard round against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Season number 3 was a really successful one for us. We ended up going 90-72, clinching a postseason spot in this matchup against the Reds with a walk-off homer in the bottom of the 11th inning by NL MVP Jazz Chisholm. It's fitting it was against the Reds because the game that we saved our season in was also against the Reds during our 14-0 comeback to win 21-19 back in July. When that game had happened, of course, we were on an 11-game losing streak. Since then, we are 38-20. That's pretty good over the last 2 months since our big losing streak. Obviously, we did not win the division. The Phillies were one of the best teams in baseball, winning 100 games and getting the 2nd seed in the National League. The Cubs ended up getting the number 1 seed, while we had 3 teams make the playoffs in the NL West, including the Diamondbacks, who are the number 5 seed, who we'll be playing against here today in games 1 and 2, while the Padres will play against the Dodgers. As for the American League, the Blue Jays will be getting a bye along with the winner of the AL West, which is the Houston Astros. The 3-seeded Guardians will face off against the Los Angeles Angels, while the Rangers will face off against the Rays. Before we go through playoff stuff, I do quickly want to take a look at the studs and duds of the year for the majors and minor leagues. These rating changes will take effect right now, starting in the playoffs. So Jazz Chisholm unsurprisingly ends up winning the stud of the year at the major league level, and this is very well deserved. He won the National League MVP, leading all of baseball in homers and RBIs, hitting over 300, OPS well above 1,000, 9.7 WAR, which was by far the highest total in all of baseball this year. And with him winning the MVP and winning the stud of the year, all of his ratings will go up by 3, except for power against righties, because that's already at 98. So he'll move up 3 overall points. He is now a 96. There are some big increases here. His potential will also go up by 3 from a 93 to a 96. His potential rating is now the 3rd highest in the organization, only behind Sandy Alcantara and Woody Landry. Nick Fortes will win the 2nd place for Stud of the Year. Of course, he has been the 1st place winner 2 years in a row, and with his improvements this year, with his extra base hit increase, batting average, OPS, and WAR, he very well could have won it again if not for Jazz being the MVP. Regardless, his ratings and potential will go up by 2, and if you go back to Season 1 with all of the Stud of the Years he has won, he has gone up in rating and potential by 8. From his stud of the year performances. Jesus Luzardo will end up getting 3rd place, which isn't really a surprise. He wasn't as good as those other players, but I do really like the way he's played over the last few months since he broke his leg, ironically, against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So he will go up in 1 to his overall rating. He is now an 82, and his potential will also go up by 1 to an 82 as well. As for the Major League Dud of the Year, Sixto Sanchez ended up losing by a lot. This surprised me a little bit, but I did get quite a few comments suggesting that the younger guys there, Barry and Perez, it wasn't really fair to put them on because they're young guys and they're still improving, which I think is pretty fair, but I didn't really have many other players to list because there weren't many guys who were disappointing. Nonetheless, it is Sixto Sanchez, who did not have a good season this year. His overall rating will go down by 3. He will not be on the postseason roster, at least to start, and I don't see why he would be on the postseason roster at all. I will say he did play pretty well in the minors, which makes me feel a little bit better about him, but he still was not all that good. Jacob Berry ended up getting 2nd place. He will go down by 2. Jacob Berry's been in the big leagues for a little bit over a year now, and he just hasn't been good, period. He hasn't hit for good average. He hasn't hit for good power. He hasn't been drawing a ton of walks. His WAR barely was positive this year. He did play better over the last couple of months. We had him in AAA for around a month, and he was really good. Then we recalled him up, and he was a little better, I guess, but still for the most part not all that good. He went up by 2 in Season 1, finishing 2nd place for the minor league stud of the year, and now he'll go down by 2. Yuri Perez ended up getting third place. I thought Yuri Perez should have gotten the most votes, but selfishly, I'm happy he didn't, so we don't have to knock him down too much. Perez has been in the big leagues for also a little over a year, and he also has not been all that good. Unlike Jacob Berry and Sixto Sanchez, he really struggled in AAA, which was a major concern for me, but his attributes still went up by quite a lot this year, so I think him going down by one really won't be that big of a deal for his long-term development, but we do need to see a step up from him next year. Hitoki Nomo ends up winning the minor league stud of the year. He had a great season in AA. He was our second-round pick in last year's draft, and he was absolutely fantastic. Now, his sample size is a little bit smaller than some other main pitchers in AA. That's because Nomo spent the first month or two of the year in Single A, but his WAR is very comparable to a lot of those guys, and his numbers across the bat are really good. So because of that, he will go up by 3, and he's got some really big increases now. I see a lot of +6s. There's a +7, +10 in home runs per 9. His potential will go up to a 92, so he now has a potential, which is huge. He was originally the 19th best prospect in baseball, but after his attribute changes, he is now the 10th. One spot behind Robbie Jones, who's our number 1 prospect in the farm system. Max Meyer ended up getting second place, and I'm really happy for him. In Season 1 of the series, he didn't play due to Tommy John. Last year, he wasn't all that good, but this year he was a lot better, so much so that we gave him an opportunity at the end of the year to pitch in a big league game. He allowed 2 runs in 3 innings, and I'm hoping he'll get a real opportunity in spring training next year to potentially compete for one of the spots in the back end of the rotation. So his rating will go up by 2. His potential will also go up by 2. He's got a real shot to get one of those spots in the rotation, in my opinion, especially with his attribute increases. Kevin Alcantara in the outfield will get 3rd. He had a really solid season here in AAA. He's gone through a little bit of a roller coaster since we acquired him in the Season 1 trade deadline. Last year, he started the year in AAA. I really hoped he would have played well, but he didn't. This year, he was great, though. Second in WAR in all of AAA, just behind Anthony Volpe, who's being held hostage by the Yankees in the minors. So he'll go up by 1 in rating and potential. He'll get an opportunity to compete for playing time next year in spring training, and I think he's a guy who could compete for the big league club sooner rather than later. As for the minor league dud of the year, the loser ended up being catcher Paul McIntosh. I will say I know the sub-200 average is really what pops out, and I think some of his other numbers aren't terrible, but for a guy who's a decently solid contact-hitting catcher compared to some of the other catchers throughout the minor leagues, hitting below 200 is just not going to cut it. So he will go down in 3 by rating to a 62. I don't think we'll be seeing him with the big league team anytime soon, but having good catching depth in the organization is good, so it does kind of suck that he goes down by 3. Bryson Motts ended up getting second place. He bounced between AA and AAA, and he wasn't really all that good at either level. Of the minor league dud of the year candidates, Bryson Motts is certainly the best long-term prospect. He has 79 potential, and that's obviously about to go down. But this is somebody who I think could be a major league arm in the future, and I still do think that. He has really good walks per 9, and the rest of his per 9 attributes look pretty solid. With his rating decrease, it's basically like he didn't play this year. Nothing really went up. Noel Gonzalez ended up finishing in 3rd place. Gonzalez's numbers aren't terrible. I mean, he hit 245, but this is somebody who I expected to be one of the better hitters in the AA lineup. With his defense not being all that good and his offensive ratings being pretty solid, I expected him to produce at the plate, and he didn't really do that. He had a negative WAR at negative .5, and with him being 30, he's already regressed quite a bit, so he will end up going down by 1 rating down to a 64, which isn't really that big of a deal. Again, another guy who I don't think we'll be seeing with the big league team anytime soon, but I guess it sucks for him that he goes down even more. So those are our studs and duds of the year at the major and minor league levels. Let's now take a look at the big league team going into the postseason, and we do have some injury news during the final game of the regular season as Thayuri Ruiz broke his hand. It seems like everybody in our team is breaking their hands. I don't know why. Ruiz is obviously not a starter, but his speed and defensive versatility is a major asset for us. We're not going to bring up anybody from AAA to replace him in terms of position players. We already have 4 position players on the bench, along with Gennaro Miller, so I think that's more than enough. I ended up bringing up Braxton Garrett to take that final roster spot. Garrett obviously did not have a great season at the big league level, but he did perform well in AAA, and he is an experienced pitcher who could give us innings if necessary. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we are 38-20. since our big losing streak started off with the 14-run comeback. In other words, we are red hot. And getting hot right before the postseason is a big deal, especially in baseball. We are 8-2 in our last 10. We've won 3 in a row. The Diamondbacks, on the other hand, are 2-8 in their last 10. They are not hot. They were one of the better teams in baseball early on. I think they had the best record in April, and they have not performed well as of recent. If you look at their recent series, lost 2 of 3 to the Angels, lost 2 of 3 to the White Sox, swept by the Dodgers, split the Giants, and swept by the Dodgers again. We had 2 series against them this year, winning 2 games in each of them. We played this one game 4-1 in Arizona towards the end of April, and then we played against them at home in June. The game where we won 11-1 is the game where Jesus Luzardo broke his leg. The Diamondbacks are led by Zach Gallen. He is the ace of their staff, but I don't think we're going to see him in this series because they pitched him for the final game of the regular season for whatever reason. So Gallen is not scheduled to pitch, at least right now. Instead, we'll see Mike Soroka, Hayden Wiesenski, and Brandon Pfaadt. If this series goes 3 games, I wouldn't be surprised to see Gallen get that start. And then the name to watch in the bullpen is rookie Alonso Juarez, who was an all-star this year and was absolutely fantastic. The Diamondbacks traded a lot of their regular, everyday players in real life. No Corbin Carroll, no Ketel Marte. They're led by other guys like Ahmed Rosario, who has had a really good last 2 seasons with Arizona. Matt Chapman, Alex Bregman, and Christian Walker are amongst the other talented veterans here, and some of their top prospects in the organization, like Jordan Lawler and Drew Jones, are also with the organization. Sandy Alcantara was scheduled to start, but I ended up switching it. We're going to give Edward Cabrera the nod in Game 1. Sandy pitched 3 days ago. I don't want to rush him in, so we're going to have Edward Cabrera pitch here in Game 1, and then Sandy will get the start in Game 2. So let's get this show on the road. The 2025 National League Wild Card Series between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Miami Marlins. With MLB's new playoff rules, the Wild Card Series is a best of 3. First team to win 2 games. The higher seed gets to host every game. So this entire playoff series will be here in Miami. Hypothetically, if we win both games today, we will move on to the second round. If we lose both games today, our season will be over. So that's how important these next 2 games are. If we obviously split these 2 games, we will have a decisive Game 3, which would be in the next episode. Mike Soroka will be getting the start for the Diamondbacks against Edward Cabrera. A lot of people might be surprised to see Cabrera get the start over Sandy Alcantara. Obviously, Sandy has been the ace of this staff. He finished second in Cy Young voting and second in WAR amongst pitchers. You know who finished above him in pitching WAR? Edward Cabrera, who had a phenomenal season, 3.27 ERA, 1.32 WHIP. The way I view our pitching staff is it's basically 1A and 1B with Sandy and Edward Cabrera. Alec Thomas will lead things off, and we're underway. He lines it to short, and it's caught. What a play by Gavin Lux, getting dirty early to start things off. 2 away here against Ahmed Rosario. Lines it to short. Lux makes the play again, and Edward Cabrera retires the side here in the top of the first inning. Good start for Cabrera in his first ever postseason start. Let's get a look at Mike Soroka, who's dealt with ups and downs throughout his career with injuries and whatnot, but he's had a really good season with the D-backs, 3.02 ERA, 1.04 WHIP. The Marlins are obviously starting all of their regular starters. Since it's the playoffs, we want to put our best foot forward and have all of our best players playing. Gavin Lux leads things off. He will pop this one up into left center. An uneventful first at bat into the playoffs for the Marlins. That'll bring up the second hitter, Yandy Diaz, acquired via trade back in May from the Rays, and he rips it up the middle for a base hit. Yandy Diaz is one of the few guys on this team who has a lot of playoff experience, with the Rays obviously being mainstays in the postseason for quite a while. Luis Arraez is up now. He singles this one into right. Not a bad start here in the bottom of the first inning. The Marlins get 2 runners aboard. A big opportunity for Jazz Chisholm, the National League MVP, who grounds it to third, and Bregman cannot make the play. That'll go for a single, and the Marlins have loaded the bases. The bases being loaded have been the Marlins' kryptonite throughout this entire series, but that was always in the regular season. Maybe we'll change that up here in the playoffs. I think I spoke too soon. Fortes grounds into an inning-ending 6-4-3 double play. The Marlins had the bases loaded, and they score nobody. Death, taxes, and the Marlins leaving them loaded. There's only a few certainties in life. The Marlins got 3 hits and did not drive anybody in. Yet the Diamondbacks only need one swing of the bat to take the lead. A moonshot to start the top of the second from Matt Chapman. A 431-foot piss missile. The Diamondbacks are on the board. They'll take a 1-0 lead. What a swing from Matt Chapman, who absolutely launched that ball deep into the left field seats. There was no starting pitcher in baseball this year who did a better job of keeping the ball in the park than Edward Cabrera. In almost 180 innings, he only allowed 10 homers, but he lets one go here early in the postseason. That'll bring us to Alex Bregman, signed from the Astros. He'll check his swing on the circle change and will be called out on strikes. Now against Gabriel Moreno with 2 away, 2-2 count from Cabrera. This one is popped into center. Jazz Chisholm should be able to make the play, and he will. Still not a bad inning here for Arizona as Matt Chapman hits a bomb to put the Diamondbacks ahead 1-0. We'll see if the Marlins can get some more base runners in this inning and, actually do something with them. Robert hits Soroka pretty hard, and Soroka will make the play at first. Good job. That was nearly another base hit for the Marlins had Soroka not been able to deflect the ball with his chest. He appears to be a little bit banged up off the comebacker from Luis Robert, but he's going to tell the dugout, don't worry about it. I'm a tough cookie. He'll stay in the game. Woody Landry's now up at 19 years old. In his first postseason at bat, he goes down on the outside sinker. 1-2-3 inning for Soroka as he retires the side. The Diamondbacks lead it 1-0 through 2. Cabrera's looking pretty good here in the third. Did Thomas go around? Yes, he did. Alec Thomas checks his swing. Through 3 innings, Cabrera has only allowed 1 base runner so far. The problem is, it was a dinger. Let's go into the bottom of the third inning now. Gavin Lux will be up for the Marlins. He's got a full count. Probably shouldn't have swung at that pitch. Ahmed Rosario going to look to make a backhanded throw, and it's not in time. An infield single for Gavin Lux, and the Marlins have another base runner. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz. Got on last time. He'll get on again as he draws a walk. So that'll bring up Luis Ariz. He also got on during his last at-bat. With 2 on and 1 away, Ariz would get plunked. Normally, I'd be excited about getting the base runner, but now the bases are loaded. That's not good news for the Marlins, but if there's anybody at the plate who I'd want up, it is Jazz Chisholm. He's one of the best clutch hitters in baseball. We'll see if he can make a play here with the bases loaded. The National League MVP strikes out on the slider. That pitch should not have been swung at. It was way inside. Jazz just got completely fooled by it. What a pitch by Mike Soroka. So now that'll bring up Nick Fortes with 2 away and the bases jacked. Fortes is the one who grounded into the double play in the first inning when the bases were loaded. He will ground it up the middle again over to short. Ahmed Rosario flips it over to Adam Frazier, and the Miami Marlins leave them loaded again. The Diamondbacks still lead it 1-0, despite the fact that the Marlins have had significantly more base runners than them today. Into the 4th inning now, Adam Frazier goes down looking on the fastball. Good pitch by Cabrera, his 3rd K of the day. 2 gone now for Matt Chapman. Cabrera looking to finish off the inning, and they call that pitch a ball. That was very clearly in the strike zone. Cabrera gets unlucky there, and so now the count is full. And Chapman's going to take the walk. This inning should be over, but with a bad call behind the plate from Angel Hernandez, it's not. Bregman would work the count and eventually strike out. Should have been a 1-2-3 inning. Instead, Cabrera's got to waste an extra 7 or 8 pitches, thanks to the umpire being Helen Keller. Bottom of the 4th inning, still 1-0. Anthony Santander hits this ball super high and pretty deep in the right field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is gone! A solo home run for Anthony Santander. And the Marlins tie it at 1. We had 38 Tony Taters in the regular season, and we're going to get our first playoff Tony Tater here in Game 1 of the wild card round. That ball went so high it probably went over the moon, and it just had enough carry to make it over the fence. But my goodness, was that ball hit soaring into the air. Only 354 feet. It just barely had the distance to make it over the fence. Woody Landry is now up, the rookie. He has a full count. And Landry hits this one in the opposite field, beating the shift perfectly. Landry will look to make it over to second with a stand-up double. And the rookie first baseman is in scoring position. The Marlins with a real opportunity to take the lead. here in the bottom of the 4th inning. That'll bring up well-known clutch hitter Brian De La Cruz, and when I say he's clutch, I'm being sarcastic. He's not. He strikes out on the low slider, and so that'll bring up the shortstop Gavin Lux, who had an infield hit in his last at-bat, grounds it over to short, and then Rosario will make the play, and so the Marlins will be unable to drive in Woody. But it's not a bad inning, though. They'll tie it with the homer by Anthony Santander. Into the 5th inning now, Christian Walker starts things off with a walk, really living up to his name. And then Max Kepler launches this one into right field, and that one is out of here into the second deck. The Diamondbacks will take a 3-1 lead as that one goes 392 feet into right field. Cabrera only allowed a homer in around a third of the games that he started. His home runs per 9 was the best amongst all qualified starting pitchers in Major League Baseball this year, but he's allowed 2 long balls today here in the first 5 innings. And the crazy part about it is the Diamondbacks don't have any other base hits today. They only have 2 hits so far, but they had 3 runs scored. Joe Williamson is up now for Arizona. He goes down looking on the circle change right down the middle. I don't know what he was waiting for, but okay. Alec Thomas, the top of the order, back up for Arizona. He strikes out as well. Very good inning, though, for the Diamondbacks. They will quickly regain the lead with a 2-run homer from Germany's finest, Max Kepler. Into the bottom of the 5th now, we will get a slightly surprising pitching change. Soroka's day is done after 4, and Dre Jamieson will come in to replace him. Soroka's pitch count was getting kind of high because he's allowed a lot of base runners, along with the comebacker to the chest from Luis Robert back in the 2nd inning. I think that's why they decided to take him out here. Yandy Diaz leads off the 5th inning with a single. Diaz has now reached base safely in all 3 of his at-bats so far today. Luis Arraez has also reached safely in all of his plate appearances so far, and he will look to keep the streak going as this one is ripped down the left field line and fair. That one looks like it'll go for a double. Since there's nobody out, there's no reason to really risk sending Yandy Diaz home. And so now there's 2 runners aboard, and that'll bring up Jazz Chisholm. I would consider intentionally walking him here, but with no outs, I kind of get not doing it as he lines it to short. Rosario bobbles it, and he cannot make the play. The Miami Marlins have loaded the bases again. Nick Fortes has been up every time with the bases loaded, and he has not been clutch at all today. With a full count pitch, he lines this one to short. Rosario bobbles it again, so they can't turn 2 as Fortes is out at first. The runner, Yandy Diaz, does score, though, so at least the Marlins do drive one in here, making it 3-2. Big opportunity here for Luis Robert. Again, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't walk him, but it works out for the D-backs as he strikes out, very frustrated with himself. That'll bring up Anthony Santander. He homered in his last at-bat as this one is hit high and pretty deep into left center field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is gone! A 3-run blast for Anthony Santander! His 2nd Tony Tater of the ball game, and the Miami Marlins had the lead for the first time tonight. It's now 5-3. Anthony Santander, what a start for him in the playoffs with 2 homers and 4 RBIs. And so Dre Jamieson will be taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Ryan Nelson, looking to get out of the inning. And he will face off against the rookie first baseman Woody Landry, who hit a double in his last at-bat. Full count here for the Rook. Woody hits this one high and deep into left center field. Pretty much the exact same spot that Santander's was, as it is gone! Back-to-back home runs from Anthony Santander and Woody Landry. It's now 6-3. Woody with his first career postseason homer. The lights do not appear to be too bright for him. In his postseason debut, he looks really good so far with a double and a dinger. The Marlins extend their lead with back-to-back homers from Santander and Landry as it's now 6-3. Those 2 homers literally went in the exact same spot. I think the same person probably could have tried to catch both homers. Nobody really gave an effort for that ball, but okay. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz now, 2-2. He grounds this one over to third. Play is made, but a really strong inning here for the Marlins as they score 5. Led by a 3-run homer by Santander, and then the very next batter, Woody Landry, with a solo shot. Cabrera still in the game here in the 6th as he strikes out Ahmed Rosario. Now against Matt Chapman. He's going to ground this one up the middle, and that'll go for a base hit. This is the first base hit to not be a homer all day for Arizona. Chapman is aboard, just the third hit for the Diamondbacks today, and so that'll bring up Alex Bregman with a 2-2 count. He strikes out on the slider. 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs allowed from Cabrera. With him being a little bit over 100 pitches, do you keep him in for one more inning? That's the dilemma that the Marlins are going to be weighing out to themselves. Top of the order due up for Miami here in the bottom half of the inning. Gavin Lux will lead things off here against Ryan Nelson, and he's going to hit this one into the gap for a single. The Marlins have hit the ball really well today. They're getting so many guys on base. It finally paid off in the previous inning, and we'll see if they can extend this lead. Yandy Diaz is up now. He draws a walk. Diaz has reached safely now in all 4 plate appearances today. 2 hits and 2 walks. That's really impressive. Luis Arraez looking to reach base for a 4th time today as well. He will not as he strikes out on the circle change. Good pitch by Ryan Nelson. That'll bring up the MVP, Jazz Chisholm, who's also had a very productive day. 2 hits so far, looking for a 3rd. And he will get it as he rips it into right field for a single. You know what that means. The bases are loaded yet again. And guess who's up? Nick Fortes has had the bases loaded in all 4 of his plate appearances today. And so far he's 0 for 3. Please, for the love of God, do not put the ball on the ground. Okay, that's not much better of an alternative as he strikes out, but still, it's better than a double play. Nick Fortes has had the bases loaded in every at-bat today, and he is 0 for 4. That might be the worst offensive display I've ever seen. Robert grounds it to first. Walker deflects it, flips it over to Ryan Nelson. That'll wrap up the inning. The Miami Marlins did the thing again. They left the bases loaded once more. 6-3 through 6. Edward Cabrera still in the game here in the top of the 7th. He's going to have a really short leash, but the Marlins think he can get through another inning as he strikes out Christian Walker. That'll bring up the catcher, Gabriel Moreno, and he will single this one into right field. The plan was if Cabrera allows any base runners, he'll be yanked out of the game, and so the Marlins are going to take him out here. I know the numbers won't look all that great for Cabrera. 6 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs so far, but I feel like he pitched really well today. He did a good job of not letting guys get on base. Obviously, allowing the home runs was not ideal, especially for a guy who never allows homers, but nonetheless, I feel like he had a really solid first career postseason start. A.J. Puck will come out of the bullpen to replace him. The Diamondbacks have 4 consecutive lefties due up, so the Marlins are really focusing on taking advantage of matchups here as Max Kepler strikes out on the fastball. That'll bring us to the center fielder, Joe Williamson, with a full count. He draws a walk on the outside circle change. 2 aboard now for Alek Thomas. He has a 3-1 count. He also draws a walk. A.J. Puck cannot seem to find the strike zone right now, so he's going to be yanked out of the game. The Marlins are going to bring Camilo Doval in out of the bullpen. The bases are loaded with 2 away here in the top of the 7th inning. This is a huge at-bat for the number 2 hitter in the lineup, Adam Frazier, the full count. Swing and a miss on the sinker. Camilo Doval gets out of the 7th. The Diamondbacks leave him loaded. Now they know our pain. Score remains 6-3 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Anthony Santander is homered in back-to-back at-bats. He won't get a 3rd, though, as he strikes out on the fastball. Good pitch by Nelson. That'll bring up Woody Landry, also homered in his last at-bat. 2 for 3 with a homer and a double. He goes down on the circle change. That pitch should not have been swung yet. Nice pitch by Ryan Nelson. Jesus Sanchez will come into the game off the bench, and he gets fooled on the fastball. Ryan Nelson retires the side, and it is still 6-3 going into the 8th. Camilo Doval will stay in the game as he strikes out Matt Chapman. Chapman is finally out after reaching base every plate appearance today. 2 gone for Bregman. Grounds it to 3rd. Diaz bobbles it, but he will still make the play. 1-2-3 inning out of the bullpen for Camilo Doval, and it remains 6-3 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. Can the Marlins continue to hold on and take home Game 1? Kyle Nelson will come out of the bullpen for the Diamondbacks. 3.05 ERA. He's had a really solid season facing off against Yandy Diaz with a full count. Diaz won't get his 3rd walk of the game here. Instead, he'll get his 3rd hit. Singling into center, Diaz has now successfully reached base in all 5 of his plate appearances today. That'll bring up the second baseman, Luis Arraez, who's also been very good at the plate here in this one. He's going to ground this one up the middle. What a play by Nelson, but the throw is offline. Diaz will look to make it over to third, and he is out. Arise, meanwhile, is safe at second. What a weird play that was, but okay. Jazz Chisholm is now up. Runner on second, 2 away. Jazz is 3 for 4 tonight, and he will strike out on the slider. Let's go to the 9th now as the closer, Liam Hendriks, is in to finish things off. Hendriks was successful in 41 out of 49 save ops this season, making the National League All-Star team. He will start off against the first baseman, Christian Walker, who singles it into center. Just the 5th base hit of the game for the Diamondbacks, and they will start the inning with an early runner. That'll bring up Gabriel Moreno. Hits this one into right field, and that one will drop for a hit once again. Walker advances to third, and the Diamondbacks are already off to a really good start in this inning with 2 runners on the corners and nobody out. The tying run is now at the plate. It's Max Kepler, who homered back in the 5th inning. He goes down looking on the slider. Good start for Liam Hendriks. That's out number 1. That'll bring up Joe Williamson now. He lines this one into left. That'll go for another hit. Run scores, and it's now 6-4. Tying run on first. Potential winning run is at the plate. Williamson will be replaced by a pinch runner, Drew Jones. Alec Thomas, the leadoff man, is up as he grounds it over to Arise, to Gavin Lux, to Woody Landry. Ball game! 4-6-3 double play, and the Marlins win it 6-4. They take home Game 1 of the 2025 National League Wild Card, and they are 1 win away from moving on to the second round against the Chicago Cubs. A great win here for Miami. It wasn't always pretty, but that big 5th inning where we were able to score 5 runs was more than enough padding for us to finish off the game. Edward Cabrera gets the win. I thought he pitched really well. Other than the homers, he was absolutely phenomenal. The Diamondbacks just could not consistently hit the ball. They only had 2 base hits prior to the 7th inning, which were the 2 homers, and they only had 4 hits going into the 9th. Their pitching was solid. Other than Dre Jameson in the 5th, they only allowed 2 additional runs. Our offense was still good, though. We got a lot of hits, 14, but we were not clutch at all. We left runners on base so often. Look at Nick Fortes, for example. All 4 of his at-bats were with the bases loaded, and he went 0 for 4. We had some other guys play really well, though. Look at the top of the order. Yandy Diaz, 3 for 3 with 2 walks. Arise reached base 3 times. Jazz Chisholm reached base 3 times. Anthony Santander homered twice, and Woody Landry went deep as well. I thought we got a really good start out of Edward Cabrera. Again, 3 runs in 6 1/3 innings. Doesn't look all that solid, but the only issue was the home runs, which again was a surprise because he is by far the qualified leader in the National League in terms of the least amount of homers allowed. The bullpen was solid. Camilo Duvall was good. The other guys were a little bit shaky. So with that, we lead the series 1-0. That'll bring us into Game 2. And look at this. The Diamondbacks will trot out Zach Gallen on just a few days' rest. He'll face off against the other ace, Sandy Alcantara. Arizona's season is on the line today. If the Miami Marlins win this game, they will move on to the NLDS with the Chicago Cubs, the number 1 seed in the National League, waiting for them at Wrigley. If the Diamondbacks win this game, then we will head to a do-or-die, all-for-nothing Game 3, which would be in the next episode. So the stakes are unbelievably high for both teams. The Marlins are looking to move on, while the Diamondbacks are looking to keep their season alive. Both teams are going to be having their aces pitched today after not having either of them get the start in Game 1. Zach Gallen and Sandy Alcantara are 2 of the best pitchers in the big leagues. Both of them were prospects with the Marlins organization. They were acquired in the same trade from St. Louis before Gallen was traded a couple years later for Jazz Chisholm. Regular starters again for both teams, and here's a look at Sandy Alcantara, who had a phenomenal season this year, finishing 2nd for the NL Cy Young, 2.63 ERA, 1.02 whip. He still continues to just be unbelievable, and he's going to look to bring the Marlins to the second round of the playoffs, although that's not a good start. In the top of the 1st inning, Adam Frazier hits it off the wall, and that'll go for an early double. The Diamondbacks start the game off with a base runner. We'll see if they can potentially drive him in, as that'll bring up the heart of the order, Ahmed Rosario, who goes down looking on the high sinker. Great pitch from Sandy Alcantara. Now against Chapman, he pops this one over to second, and Luis Arraez will make the play. So Sandy allows a double, but the Diamondbacks won't get anything out of that. As we get a look at Zach Gallen, who early on in the season looked like a Cy Young candidate. Over the last couple of months, he has not pitched all that well, and he's obviously going to need to rebound today, or else the Diamondbacks will be eliminated. Gavin Lux strikes out on the outside fastball to get things going. Great pitch from Gallen. With 2 away and a full count, that'll bring up Luis Arraez. He will ground this one over to second. Frazier's able to block the ball with his glove, but Luis Arraez is still aboard with a base hit. That'll bring up Jazz Chisholm now. He went 3 for 5 in the first game, and he goes down looking on the fastball. That pitch did not look like a strike. That pitch looked really low, but okay. Gallen strikes out a couple, and we move into the second inning. Christian Walker singles into right. The Diamondbacks with another early base runner as they get their second hit of the game. That will bring up the number 7 hitter, Gabriel Moreno. He singles this one into center. Now there's 2 men aboard. Sandy's allowed quite a few hits so far today. The Diamondbacks have hit the ball a lot better so far than they did in Game 1. Kepler now rips it into center. Chisholm has trouble getting to it, and the runner will score. It's an RBI single for Max Kepler, and the Diamondbacks lead it 1-0. Big swing for Kepler. Joe Williamson now with a weak grounder over to Landry. He'll tag the base, only able to get 1 out. So now there's 2 runners in scoring position. A huge at-bat for the leadoff man, Alek Thomas, who grounds it to the pitcher. Alcantara gets the out at first. Not a very good inning, though, for Sandy. He allows 3 hits, including an RBI single by Kepler, to put the Arizona Diamondbacks on the board first. Into the bottom of the second now, Nick Fortes finally does not have the bases loaded. Instead, there's nobody on, and he still strikes out. That'll bring up Anthony Santander, who homered twice in Game 1 of this series, and he will go down looking on the fastball. Zach Gallen looks phenomenal so far. I know he's had a rough past few months, but today so far he looks really good. Adam Frazier leads off the third. He'll go down looking on the slider. Great pitch by Sandy Alcantara, trying to get into a groove here, as Ahmed Rosario singles it into left with 1 away, and the Diamondbacks will get another runner aboard. They already have 5 hits today. That's more than Edward Cabrera allowed. Matt Chapman hits it well into right. Nice catch by Sanchez at the wall. If that ball drops, that could have scored another run. Alex Bregman is now up. He's going to fly this one into center. Jazz Chisholm makes the play, and the Marlins get through the third. Sandy Alcantara continues to allow base runners. The Diamondbacks are continuing to hit the ball well. It's very similar to Mike Soroka in the first game. He was not allowing runs, but he was letting the other team hit the ball well, and it feels like it might only be a matter of time until the Diamondbacks get a big play. So because of that, the Marlins need to come out the gate swinging. Not swinging and missing, though, like Woody Landry. Gavin Lux is up now with 2 away. He will pop this one up in a foul territory, and it will be caught. So the Diamondbacks get through the inning. Zach Gallen has only allowed 1 hit so far today, and that was an infield single. Into the fourth now with 1 away. Moreno pops it up over to the pitcher. Sandy kind of jammed him inside there. And I will say, Sandy Alcantara does look a lot better over these last few innings as Kepler grounds it over to Gavin Lux. The Marlins taking advantage of the shift. Maybe the Diamondbacks won't get some big play to break through now that Sandy's really in a groove, which Mike Soroka never really got in Game 1. Jazz gets plunked, so he's aboard. With 2 away, the Marlins have a speedster on for Nick Fortes, who obviously was great in the regular season. So far in the playoffs, he's looked like he's forgot how to hit a baseball as he pops this one up in a right, and it will be caught. 4 scoreless for Zach Gallen, who continues to dominate on the mound. And we could be looking at a real pitcher's duel if Sandy continues to pitch well. Joe Williamson goes down looking for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Alek Thomas, who looks to lay down the drag bunt, and he does it to perfection. Wow, what a play for Alek Thomas as he gets the bunt single. Thomas will now look to steal second. He is safe, really taking advantage of his speed with the bunt. Now the stolen base, and Arizona has a runner in scoring position. Big at bat here with 2 away for Ahmed Rosario. Sandy needs to get out of the inning as Rosario will hit this one to Arraez, who deflects it. Now that will go for an infield single. I will say, if that ball gets by Arraez, run probably scores, but it won't matter because Matt Chapman hits a tank in a left field, just like Game 1. 3-run blast for Chapman, and the Diamondbacks lead 4-0. I was really confident Sandy was starting to pitch better. As I mentioned in the third inning, I felt like it was only a matter of time until the Diamondbacks get that big play. It was looking more and more likely that wasn't going to happen, and then Matt Chapman does it. Sandy will stay in the game, looking to get out of the inning at least, as Bregman pops it up into center. It'll be caught by Jazz. That'll likely end Sandy Alcantara's day. 5 innings, 4 earned runs. Not the best of outings from Sandy, and now the Marlins have a lot of damage control to do. Luis Robert will lead off the inning. He draws a walk. Robert, like Nick Fortes, has also forgotten how to swing the bat here in the playoffs. That'll bring up Anthony Santander. We could really use another Tony Tater right about now. Instead, we will get a double play. Not good. The Marlins have not gotten many base runners at all. Still only 1 hit today and a couple of walks. So when you get guys on, you got to do something with them. That'll bring up Woody Landry now. He's going to hit this one into left field, and that one looks like it is going to drop. The Diamondbacks have really played the shift tightly with Woody Landry, and he has made them pay. He's got doubles in both games 1 and 2. Both of them have gone into deep left field. So now there's a runner in scoring position and a big opportunity for Jesus Sanchez, who had a great month of September. He hits this one high into center field. Should be caught, though, and it looks like it will. So the Diamondbacks make it through the inning. 5 scoreless for Zach Gallen. He's showing no signs of slowing down. The Marlins, meanwhile, will make a pitching change as Reynaldo Lopez will come into the game for Sandy Alcantara. 3.21 ERA, .92 whip. Very solid season for him. But the Diamondbacks are going to get the hits going early. Gabriel Moreno singles into center. Maybe it wasn't a Sandy issue. Maybe it was more so the Diamondbacks are hot today, just like the Marlins in the first game. Kepler checks his swing on the fastball. He went around for strike 3. That pitch was also in the zone anyway. Joe Williamson then lines it into left. It's caught by Chisholm. Overall, pretty good inning for Reynaldo Lopez. He allowed the 1 base runner, but no further damage is done, and it remains a 4-0 ball game. Let's go to the bottom of the 6th now. Top of the order's up. Something's got to give, right? At some point, it's Gavin Lux with a full count. Ropes this one down the line. That'll go for a hit. Finally, the Marlins get another base hit. It felt like it's been forever since they were able to do that. So Lux is aboard. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz. Much quieter today than he was in Game 1, but he does have the 3-1 count, and he will draw another walk. Now the base runners are starting to come on. 2 on, nobody out. Now there's 1 out for Jazz Chisholm. A huge opportunity for the MVP. He will pop this one up into center field. That one is actually going to make it all the way to the warning track where it is eventually caught. Gavin Lux will tag up to third, though. And so now there's runners on the corners. Big opportunity for Nick Fortes, who has had so many base runners on throughout the playoffs. He's done nothing with them. Can he finally break out of the curse? As it goes off of Gallen's foot, that would have been a base hit if it did not hit Gallen's foot. Nick Fortes might just be cursed. The Diamondbacks make it through the inning. It's still 4-0. Jordan Hicks will come in out of the bullpen for the Marlins here in the 7th. He also had a very solid season, throwing a lot more innings than he did last year, changing his roll up. Adam Frazier strikes out on the 98-mile-an-hour fastball to get things going. With 2 away now, Rosario singles into center. Jazz could have gone for the diving catch, but he didn't want the ball to get by him because Rosario probably would have gotten a double or a triple. That'll bring up Matt Chapman. He skies this one into left field, and that ball once again is out of here into the Marlins bullpen. Matt Chapman has turned into Brian Barry Bonds in this postseason series. He homered once in the first game. He's homered twice today. His 3rd of the playoffs. That one did not go as deep as the first 2, but nonetheless, Arizona is now up 6-0. Matt Chapman is literally a superhuman who the Marlins cannot stop whatsoever. So Arizona is now up big. The Diamondbacks are in a really good spot here. Now the Marlins came back down 14 earlier in the year. This is 6 runs. If they can do 14, I guess they can do 6. Bregman lines it into right, caught by Sanchez. That'll wrap up the 7th. Good inning, though, for the Diamondbacks. They had 2 more with the homer by Chapman. Allen is still on the bump for the D-backs as Robert lines it nicely into right, and it is caught by Max Kepler. On the play, Kepler hurt his shin bone. He could be out for quite some time. If Arizona does hold on, we'll have a Game 3, and that would be tomorrow. So most likely, we won't see Max Kepler in the final game. 2 away now for Woody Landry. He crushes this one into right field. And that baby is out of here. Solo homer for Woody Landry, and the shutout is no more. The Marlins are finally on the board as it's now 6-1. Woody Landry's playoff debut has gotten off to a great start. In Game 1, he had a double and a homer. In Game 2, another double and another homer. For those of you who watched the Guardians franchise last year, you may remember our top pick, Zane Rowley. He was a good player in the regular season, but once we got to the playoffs, he was a completely different beast. Could we see Woody Landry be like playoff Zane in the sense of once it's October, he really starts to play well? He will knock Zach Gallen out of the game, and he will be replaced by Kyle Nelson. Still a phenomenal start, nonetheless, for Zach Gallen, and it should be more than enough for the Diamondbacks to get the win, bearing a crazy comeback. Gennaro Miller comes in as a pinch hitter for Sanchez, and he will ground over to third. Not a terrible inning, though. At least the Marlins get one. Still a lot of work to do as we go into the 8th. Adonis Takadopoulos is in for his first postseason appearance of the year. He'll face off against Walker, who starts the inning with a single into center. That slurve had a lot of movement on it, but it does not fool Christian Walker, who is aboard. That'll bring up Drew Jones, who entered the game for the injured Kepler. Grounder to Takadopoulos. He will tag Jones. The other runner safe at second. I think Takadopoulos knew he was not going to get the double play there. Joe Williamson will look to drive him in. It's a single into left. Robert kind of slow to throw it home, and the runner is safe. It's an RBI single for Williamson, and the Diamondbacks lead it 7-1. That'll bring up Alek Thomas now. He'll take the walk on the outside sinker. Takadopoulos has not looked all that good today, so he will be taken out of the game and replaced by Jorge Alcala, who faces off against Frazier. He singles into left field. Runner looking to score, and the throw is offline. It's now 8-1. Arizona's continuing to add some insurance to this lead here down the stretch. Rosario now hits this one into no man's land, although Arise should be there to make the catch, and he will. The Diamondbacks still scored 2, though, and they are in clear control here over this next inning and a half as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Yandy Diaz grounds it up the middle. Nelson is unable to control it. He eventually will, and he throws out the runner at first. Good play for the second out of the inning. That'll bring up Luis Arise now. He's got a full count. The Marlins just looking for any sort of base runner, and they'll get it as Luis Arise draws a walk. So that'll bring up Jazz Chisholm, who's had a much quieter day today as opposed to Game 1. Currently 0 for 2. He did reach base once after getting hit by a pitch, and he will reach base again as he draws a walk. So now there's 2 on. If the Marlins want any realistic shot at the comeback, they've got to do something right now. Landon Sims will come out of the bullpen. He will face off against Nick Fortes, who has more runners on. He has been terrible with runners on base throughout the playoffs, but he draws a walk, so at least he gets on. And now the bases are loaded again. That'll bring up Luis Robert. He's got a 2-2 count. Robert skies this one high and deep into center field, but it will be caught. The Marlins lead the bases loaded yet again. I mean, how often do you have teams who load the bases this much just not scoring? Into the 9th inning now, Alcala is still in the game as he strikes out Matt Chapman on the fastball. That'll bring up Alex Bregman now, the 1-2. Got him on the slider. Great pitch by Alcala. He'll face off against Christian Walker, who grounds it up the middle. Jazz Chisholm, who moved over to short after a defensive substitution. He'll make the play, and Alcala retires the side. So into the bottom of the 9th now, Cole Susler is in for the Diamondbacks, looking to finish things off. The Diamondbacks are up by 7. They should have no problem. Anthony Santander starts things off here for Miami, and he will strike out. A much quieter day today for Santander as opposed to the first game. It all comes down to Gennaro Miller now. Grounds it sharply up the middle. That'll go for a base hit. The game stays alive a little bit longer, and the Marlins have the runner aboard. That'll bring us to the top of the order. Gavin Lux was taken out a little bit earlier for Brian De La Cruz. He will strike out on the slur that this game is over. The Diamondbacks with a statement win, 8-1, with a phenomenal performance on the mound from Zach Gallen and a great day at the plate. So with that, the Marlins and the Diamondbacks split the first 2 games of the National League Wild Card, which means next episode, Game 3, will decide the winner of the series. This game was a lot like Game 1, but the 2 teams flipped. The Diamondbacks got a ton of hits early on, and then they were able to capitalize with 3 runs in the 5th, 2 more in the 7th, 2 more in the 8th. The Marlins, on the other hand, just couldn't really hit the ball at all. 1 run, 5 hits, not good enough. The Diamondbacks just made so many more plays on offense than they did in the first game. Matt Chapman, the catalyst of that, with 2 homers and 5 RBIs, and then Zach Gallen was phenomenal. He had a shutout, nearly make it through 7 innings. I'm really impressed with Woody Landry so far in the playoffs. He's been really good and had another very strong game today, 2 for 4. But he was the only player with any extra base hits. He had 2, including the homer. Nobody else showed up on offense. Sandy Alcantara as well was not very good. 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs. He just did not look like himself. And then the bullpen also was not very good either. Certainly an interesting start here to the playoffs. We end up winning the first game 6-4 and losing the second game 8-1. After splitting the first 2 games, we now know what is up for grabs here in Game 3. The winner will move on to the second round against the Chicago Cubs. The loser is eliminated. Hayden Wesneski will face off against Tyler Mahle as both of these teams look to keep their seasons alive in the next episode. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new and if you are ready for Game 3 of the Wild Card round. Peace out, everybody.